Another quickie for you. A few years ago, we introduced a lure from Mag Bay called Mag Trap. And basically it's this lure that was made for wahoo trolling. And it'll take more than wahoo, as guys have found out, using a high-speed wahoo type lures and technique going after bluefin tuna. They do real well. Very effective lures. They get bit really, really well. The fellow who designed these lures is from Europe, Georgios. Call him George. One of those creative minds in the industry. Boy, like Perry Siu out of Australia, who designed the original Raider jigs. Just a creative person, a unique individual. George made these things, and then he gave the distribution rights to Mag Bay. So they had a contract going for X amount of time as an exclusive agent, and Mag Bay still offers this lure. Well, typical of somebody who makes lures, they don't just sit still, they fiddle. And again, these things are made to troll from like nothing to 20 knots. And I love to have them on the boat, especially when also guys are using DTX minnows that are very speed dependent, rigging dependent, and can be associated with a lot of drama on the troll for wahoo, because they may fly out of the water, they may not track right. You get one bump and now the doggone thing doesn't track very well. They're effective, they get bit, but there's a downside to them. There's no drama with these things because you put them where they belong and they stay there and they do what they're supposed to, and they get bit well. And I've taken jackpots and have a few jackets I've earned on the red rooster for the biggest troll fish, being a wahoo, when guys are dragging the DTXs and I've got one of these things out. So they will get bit, and especially when you look at your trolling position, the boat speed, that sort of thing, you always want to have a planing head lure with you. Okay, so the Mag Trap. They call it a Mag Trap because there's a magnet in here, and that's what holds the belly hook. So that belly hook isn't scratching all over the place and damaging the lure, the finish, which old braid marauders Missouri Bonitas did. Well, as I said, George doesn't, he's a tinker, and he's thinking, his brain's always thinking, what could he do to improve the design of the original Mag Trap? Well, aside from coming up with different patterns, he changed the way the weighting was done a little bit, changed the head a little bit, made much larger eyes on the lure than what they were before. And if you can see that, a few different eye styles. This would be the older design, this is the newer design. Called the company Salta. And he's marketing these directly. Now, the other difference is this magnet receiver, okay? Again, good, very good hooks. There's nothing you need to do with these guys other than take off the little protective sheath here. Be sure you do that. But the magnet on the old ones, if there was a criticism, it would be that receiver. These guys should be washed after use. Both styles need to be washed in fresh water. At some point, you come back from the trip, clean them out. And for me personally, I did not want to keep the hook in there where the magnets were. Because what I noticed, I'd have some deterioration. The magnetic fields and different dissimilar metals and all that stuff, you introduce a problem, and it could cost you a lure down the road. Now frankly, if these things cost me $100 and I get a wahoo, a nice 50, 60 pound wahoo out of it, I'm fine losing $100 worth of lure. I'd rather not. And so, I take care of my stuff, and I've used these things on multiple trips and still fish the same one, but I do take that little step. Now with the new design from George, the magnets are replaceable. Great, so you can take the magnet, when time comes and replace it, you can. And so he's got a nice little, magnet kit. It has new magnets, comes in a nice stash can or whatever. Good stuff. So that's one improvement. The magnets are replaceable. Same thing. Don't leave the hook in the receiver and give it a good freshwater wash. I take the hooks and put them on the side, and that's it. Once I wash them down. The finishes too changed. with the old Mag Bays, I think we had 4, maybe 5 different patterns to them. Well, hell, with Salta, he went a little crazy in a way, because again, he's a tinkerer, and that's the kind of guy he is. He's got a number of different color patterns to work with. We have a nice mackerel pattern, good stuff, natural forage. But he also does it, if you can tell, in a more metallic color, which, bright daytime might be a real nice way to go, because it's going to be very, very reflective, with that. One of the more popular colors on the old Mag Bay was what they called a marlin pattern. I don't know how marlin it was, but again, we've got that same sort of pattern, but we also have it in, again, a more metallic, a more reflective form. So we have 2 different styles of that color pattern to pick from. Nice. Pink lady. Okay. Here's the Mag Bay, and then here's the Salta. Striping's a little bit different, patterns a little bit different, eyes of course are different, the way the Magnus is set up is different, but they have that same pattern, and that Pink Lady is another dandy one. Strong sunlight, daytime conditions, I've seen this thing produce really, really well. And then, Cayman Runner. What the hell is a Cayman Runner? I really don't know, but George liked them well enough to design them 3 different ways. So more of a paint type of finish. See if we can get these guys in here in front of the camera. 2 that are a little more reflective. One with more of a little holograph finish to it. I think all 3 of these things will get bit well. It's going to be personal preference. I would not shy away from the paint finish, that way. All of these lures have 4 layers of clear coat on top of them. So they will, hold their color well, but I mean, nothing is going to prevent a wahoo's teeth, from scoring them and having some battle scars. And that's okay too. Some of the lures that have gotten bit best have been ones where a lot of paint's been taken off them. Although I will say on these, the finishes of the lures I've dragged, they've held up really, really well. It's a hard body. It's not a soft foam type of thing that gets torn up and trashed. And again, if you're going on a long-range boat that's say 8 days or greater, you're going to go for wahoo. That's a glory fish to catch. Have yourself a couple, at least one, planing head lure. You may want to have multiples of a DTX minnow, just knowing that once they get hit by a fish, probably that lure won't track straight anymore. The long-range versions maybe do a little better than the old DTX 200s. A 220 might do better, but still, you could be disappointed, if they really are getting through the whole rotation, or if you're positioned, on the short line versus a longer line, where that DTX may track better, and in that case, having a planing head lure really is a big help. It puts you in the game. Well, I haven't said all that. There's these 2 finishes in that. We can say a marlin pattern. It's a wahoo pattern to me. These things have 10 different patterns on them. So it's not a typical lure. Now, from a marketing standpoint, with Salta, the new versions of these lures are not going through Mag Bay. We'll still maintain the Mag Bay piece, our lures, but with the Salta lures, the way they're being marketed, at least at this point in time, it's a direct import for us. And so we bring these things in. We'd love to have higher quantities, but they're expensive and there are only so many we can bring in at a time. But because it's a direct relationship and a middleman's out of the picture, it's direct from us to the factory. We're able to get the pricing down a little bit. We've got to pay, import duties and all that good stuff. But, the pricing is a little bit more aggressive. So it's one of the few times in the fishing industry where you get the newer, updated product that is, I think very easily to argue that it's a better product for a lower price. And 2 different styles of finishes. So look that one over on our website. These are, again, Salta lures, and brought to you by the fellows who developed the Mag Track, which gained an awful lot of following since we introduced it about 5 years ago. Good stuff. Thank you for watching, and you know, I'll see you back here again soon. Thanks again. Yeah, Mark, over.